Hello and welcome to a Quickie guide to FRU Phase 5. With that said, let's begin. First, make sure the MT and OT establish aggro, as the boss will auto both her main target and second in aggro. The boss will begin with Fulgent Blade, causing heavy raid-wide damage and leaving 3 sets of these lines that will begin to glow and expand into avoidable AoEs that will continue to go throughout the arena, with dark and light line AoEs. If hit, players will receive a significant damage down and either a light or darkness resistance down. During this, the boss will cast Morn, 2 heavy hitting group stacks that will target the closest player to her left and right, with dark and light aspected damage. If you got hit by a Fulgent Blade AoE and it was the same element of the Morn stack, you will KO, but that's probably for the best in this case. Let's start by solving the Fulgent Blade line AoEs, which we'll refer to as Exa waves. How I dodge this is I first orientate myself between the largest space where the lines aren't covering. Then I check my left and right to see which set is going to go off first. If it's the left side, I'll wait for the second hit to go off and then dodge into the left side of where the 2 lines are converging, which will always be between a dark and light Exa wave. Or, as I've heard others say, the left side of the diamond. Now, dodging to the left will always be safe for the entire mechanic, and on the third and final dodge, the entire diamond will be safe. Then start shimmering into your group for Morn. Group 1 will go left, and Group 2 will go right. One group will have to wait patiently for the Exa waves to pass before getting onto their side. But let's look at this dodge from the other side. Let's say the Exa waves are coming from the right. Then in this case, we'll dodge into the right side of the diamond for the first 2 sets, and once again, the entire diamond is safe for the final dodge. If you're not confident in your geometry, you can also just use the lines as a point of reference to not go past. So you could just dodge into the diamond, then move out, but abide by not moving past this line and not going too far. And you can do this for the first 2 dodges, and once again, the final dodge, the entire diamond is safe as always. Fulgent Blade will happen 3 times throughout the encounter, with the only variance being the Exa wave pattern potentially being a different one. Next up, the boss will cast Paradise Regained into Wings Dark and Light. Paradise Regained will spawn 3 2-player towers, one after another, while Wings Dark and Light will cleave her main target with a frontal cone tank buster and cleaves her entire left or right side, along with a tether that will either target the closest or furthest player with a tank buster who isn't her main target. She'll then proceed to cleave the side she didn't cleave along with the tether she didn't do first, both of which depend entirely on which wing is glowing first. If her dark wing is glowing, she'll cleave her right side and tether the closest player. If her light wing is glowing, she'll cleave the left side of her and tether the furthest away player, and then she'll do the opposite. To solve this, healers and DPS will handle towers. You can do this in any order you want. We did healers first, range second, and melees third. For a difference, these towers are the filler mechanic, and tanks have the actual mechanic for once. Anyway, to handle this as a tank, if you are the main tank, then first orientate yourself on the first tower and pay attention to the wings. If the dark wing is glowing, then go to the left tower and take the hit there. If the left tower isn't there yet, then go roughly where the left tower will spawn. After that, go between the 2 remaining towers and go far out to take the tether. The off-tank here will need to pay attention as well, as they'll need to provoke the boss during the cast of Wings Dark and Light and tuck into the boss's hitbox, and make sure you're on the correct side from the cleave. Once they have taken their tethered hit, they'll need to get into position for the cleave. This will be close to where the main tank took the hit, but slightly off. The easiest thing to do here is just look for the opposite tower of where the main tank took their hit, and just align yourself with that. If the light wing is glowing first, then we'll do the opposite and go right from the first tower and take the cleave on whatever tower spawns there. Then once we take the hit, go between the 2 remaining towers and tuck in to get the tether tank buster. As for the off tank, provoke like usual and then go far out. Then once again, go to where the main tank took their cleave and align yourself with the opposite tower. There are 2 of these throughout the fight. For the first one, we had one tank use their invulnerability and the other one used all of their cooldowns, while the invulnerable tank would give them their short cooldown, and we did the same for the second set. Just the tank that didn't use their immunity uses it here, and the other tank who did use their immunity will use all of their cooldowns here and receives the other tank's short cooldown instead. As for the party, other than taking towers, you'll also need to avoid the cleaves. On the second safe spot, if the off-tank positions correctly, we will always be between these 2 towers. If you have to take one of these towers, then just be within the safe quadrant. The second tower will also need to be quick here to get to their tower before it goes off. If any tower is missed, it's pretty much a wipe. Next, the boss will cast Polarizing Strikes. This will target the closest player left and right with a light or dark stack line AoE that will give the first player in line a light or dark resistance down, meaning if they take another hit from the same element, they will die. She'll cast this 4 times in total, and each hit will leave a lingering AoE that must be dodged. To handle this, we made sure the boss was always facing north and had group 1 southwest and group 2 southeast. Then whoever takes the first hit in line will swap groups for the rest of the mechanic. And make sure not to be hit by the lingering AoE. Wait until the visual effect goes off. It's like these slashes. Then you know it's safe to position again. Our order was tanks take first in line, then swap. Then melees take the second hit first in line, then swap. Then range will take the third hit first in line, then swap. And then healers finally take the 4th first in line hit. And this is the last one, so healers don't need to swap. This mechanic will happen twice throughout the encounter, and you'll handle it the exact same way. The boss will then cast her final mechanic, Pandora's Box, which will wipe the raid unless the tank uses tank limit break free here. The order of tanks who should use LB goes Warrior, Dark Knight, Paladin, and lastly Gunbreaker. You'll want to use this limit break at the end of Pandora within the cast of Pandora's Box. The boss will then cast her second set of Fulgent Blades with Exo Waves into an Morn. Her last Paradise Regained into Wings Dark and Light. One more Polarizing Strike set. And then finally her last Fulgent Blade set with Exo Waves and an Morn. And then finally the boss will cast Paradise Lost, which is her Enrage. Near the end of the cast, the limit break will fill up to 3, so a melee should use this immediately, as any later could result in losing the LB and just dying to the Enrage. And that is Phase 5. Nothing crazy here, and the most difficult thing will be figuring out the mitigation, but honestly the damage is pretty lenient, and learning the Exo Waves. But with enough study and practice, it really isn't as bad as it looks, and the overall damage of this phase is no DSR or top. Anyway, if you made it this far into the guide series, then thank you and good luck on your clear. Or if you are just watching to support me, then also thank you. I make these guides as a learning resource and don't expect to see my name as a PF strategy. All I want to do is provide a way for you to learn and for you to decide if you want to use the strategies I present or another. And to help further with this, I've put in multiple different strategies in the description of my other guides. So if you just want these videos as a learning resource but want to do another strategy, then I actively encourage it. But anyway, that's enough sappiness. As always, thank you to my Patreons for supporting the channel. If you like the content, then you can also become a Patreon member, link in the description below. But otherwise, if not, you can always do the other YouTube things. But with that said, take it easy and goodbye.